Brethren, I pray you sing a new song. Sing praise in the assembly of the righteous. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let the high praise of God be on the mouths of the saints and a two-edged sword in their hands to execute vengeance on the demonic nations and punishments on those peoples, to bind their kings with chains. This honor have all his saints. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Sing to him a new song.
Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we're going to give all honor, all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Mashiach Yahweh Shah. Hearty shalom to the brothers that's out here teaching on the Shabbat. Double honors to the glory, double honors to the elders in Israel, setting up that order. And Kwam Yasharola. And today we out here at the gathering place once again, pulling out the words of the Most High. We got a couple sisters here. You know, we always get onto the heathens. We always get onto the jakes who not listening, keeping the commandments. But today, let's go into a little bit of what our forefathers done so we can build up our faith in these last days, right? That don't get talked about enough. You know, you got Moses, Abraham. Hey, you know, we got Solomon, King David. We got a lot of righteous men set up. But, you know, there's stories in here that a lot of people don't touch on, right? So go into Daniel. Hey, you got your other pocket? Give me First Maccabees chapter 2. I'll tell you what I want whenever I see it. Hold on, it's like 54. This First Maccabees chapter 2. Start right. David, Elias. I want 59. I want 59.
This is the book.
Start up. In this chapter, Mattathias is telling his sons this. Start from right there. Read that.
Verse 49?
Yeah, start that.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 49. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Verse 50, now therefore, my son, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
Hey, so Mattathias was telling his sons, hey, be zealous for the law. Give yourself wholly over to the law and to the covenant. That's what Mattathias told his sons before he died. That's how he went out. Hey, look. Hey, we would tell you in Proverbs, raise up your son in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. Now jump down to 49. Go down to 51 and then jump to 59.
This is 51. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time.
Hey, so you got Mattathias on his deathbed, and he like, hey, don't forget all of these things that your forefathers done. You know, they went hard for the Most High, and that's what's expected of you. Go ahead.
So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name.
Read 51 again.
Verse 51, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and everlasting, and an everlasting name. Verse 59.
Hey, so he tell you about everything our forefathers did. It tell you, hey, and you can actually read it if you want to, but jump from 59 for the sake of time.
Verse 59, Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing, were saved out of the flame.
So them three men, and that's why you got the story of the three holy children, the song of the three holy children. Read the names again. You got Azarias, Misael, and Ananias.
Verse 59, Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing, were saved out of the flame.
So them three men, Misael. So you got these three men literally praying in a fire. But they have so much faith and believed on the Most High. They got saved out of that fire. And we're going to read you that accord in Daniel chapter 3, I believe. You got it? Con. Yeah, you can start at, you can just go straight to it. What is it, 20? Yeah. Start there. Hey, and go to the song of Three Holy Children. And we're gonna start at the top.
This is Daniel chapter 3 and verse 20. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace.
Hey, so you got the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. He's setting up his own gods in his kingdom, and he's saying if you don't get down with these gods, then you're gonna get destroyed, right?
Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Hold on, jump back a verse, go back up.
Verse 21. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
So you had the men that Nebuchadnezzar had. He told his man to go get the three men. He told him to go get Azarias, Ananias, and Misael. But Nebuchadnezzar gave them three other names, like Abednego, Shadrach, and what else? And Meshach. So that's the name that he gave them. But their names is Azarias, Ananias, and Misael. But he told him to go get these three men because they wasn't getting down with the gods that he set up. So he's going to kill them and put them in a fire while they was living.
Read verse 22 again. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
He told them to lift up the flame, make the flame harder, make it hotter, make it bigger. And when he did that, it killed his man and not Azarias and Ananias and Misael. Go ahead.
And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
Is that where you at? Now go to the song of the Three Holy Children. 1 and 1? Yeah. Read that last part again. When I seen this, I was like, wow, this shit.
And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
So you got Ananias, Azarias, and Misael in the furnace. Go ahead.
This is the song of the Three Holy Children, chapter 1 and verse 1. And they walked in the midst of the fire, praising Yahweh.
Hold on, read that again.
And they walked in the midst of the fire, praising Yahweh, and blessing the Lord. Then Azarias stood up and prayed on this manner, and opened his mouth in the midst of the fires. In the midst of the fire, said, Blessed art thou, O Lord God of our fathers. That name is worthy to be praised and glorified forevermore.
So he in the midst of the fire praying. That's what happened. Now go back to Maccabees, the one I show you. First Maccabees 2. Let's go to 59. And go to that one where it says, I believe it's 17. Again, it tell you that them niggas already knew they was gonna get delivered out of that. That's how much faith they had. All right, read that.
First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 59. Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing were saved.
They said by believing was what?
Were saved out of the flame.
So that's why they were saved out of the flame. And they said this in Daniel. Go ahead.
Start 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter.
Hey, because Nebuchadnezzar came up to him and was like, hey, bro, is y'all really not getting down with these gods?
If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king.
Hey, so before he even got put in the fire or anything, he was like, nah, bro, we not serving your gods. We got our own God off tops. And these men is in captivity. They in the Babylonian captivity. You got Nebuchadnezzar telling them, if you don't serve my God, bro, you gonna get baked alive. And then Nebuchadnezzar said, man, and asked them, and they're like, nah, bro, we not gonna be scared to say it. You know, fuck your God, we got our own. They didn't play with it. They didn't hesitate to say it. They said, nah, bro, we ain't serving your guys. And if you try and do anything to us, the Most High gonna deliver us out of your hands. That's how much faith they had. That's how much faith they had. You still holding that? I want you to read it one more time. It busts so hard. I'm like, bro, dang. I didn't know that was there.
First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 59. Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing were saved out of the flame.
So by believing, they were saved out of the flame. Go to the Three Holy Children real quick. You got them doing a whole prayer, standing in the fire. Hey, give me Psalms 34 and 17. Psalms 34 and 17. Read, I think I want verse 9.
This is the song of the Three Holy Children. verse 9. And thou did deliver us, and thou didst deliver us into the hands of the lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of God, and to an unjust king.
Hold on, read that again. Read that again.
And thou did deliver us into the hand of lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of God,
Hey, he said, y'all, you did deliver us into the hands of the lawless enemies. Go ahead.
and to an unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world.
Con. So that unjust king and the most wicked in all the world at that time was King of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. Con, because Nebuchadnezzar, he overthrew us. It tell you in I believe it's 2 Kings chapter 24, how he overthrew Jehoiakim. When Jehoiakim was a servant for a few years, then he rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. Then Nebuchadnezzar, or the Most High, gave Jehoiakim and Israel into Nebuchadnezzar's hand for a time. But Slakia, hey, Nebuchadnezzar, like I was saying, king of Babylon, he ruled with that iron, and he was so puffed up that the Most High had to turn him into a beast and take his knowledge away. Because he didn't understand that everything came from the Most High. He thought that because he was just Nebuchadnezzar, he made everything happen. But it was really the Most High doing these things, because the Most High, he chooses who he want to set up. It's not based on what you did or how you walk. You know what I'm saying? Go to that man's goings are the Lord real quick. Hey, hold that song still. Man, so we got some cold forefathers.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 20 and verse 24. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way?
So Nebuchadnezzar, he started taking over all of these kingdoms, taking over Israel, defeating other people's gods, and he was boasting like, I built all of this, I did all of this, I tied that shoe, I did that. But really it was the Most High delivering us into the hands of our enemies, because we was going off, because all of the wicked kings, because of what Jehoiakim and his forefathers did, when they reigned. So we had to get chastened for that. But Nebuchadnezzar thought that he did something special. But hey, it tell you that he turned him into a beast. It tell you that he grew feathers. It took his understanding away. That he grew nails. He was living like a base man, like it tell you in Job 30. Get that actually, Job 30 and you can start at like 6 and read that Psalms with
Psalms 34 and what?
17. Is that it? It's a lot. 30 and 7. 34 and 7.
Come, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 34 and verse 7. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him and delivers them.
And that's what you had when these men they got thrown in a flame, bro. And it tell you when they came out, they didn't even smell like smoke. Nothing on their garments was rent. It was an angel in that thing. It tell you literally in Daniel that it was an angel in there. Yeah, get that count. And then we'll go to Job.
This is Daniel chapter 3 and verse 24. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire.
Hey, he threw 3 men in there, but he seen 4 walking in the midst of the fire. That's how you know it was an angel in there. Because he only threw Azariah, Ananias, and Misael in there. But he told you he seen what?
For lo, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
It's like the who?
Like the Son of God.
Come on.
I'm going to jump to verse 27.
Come on.
The princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors being gathered together saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head hinged, neither was their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed them.
So none of the hair on their hair was hinged. Their coats didn't mess up. You know what I'm saying? Nothing happened to these men because they were surrounded and camped around with that angel. He threw 3 in there, but he saw 4. No, you don't understand. But what's up, bro? What's up, bro? Way back there. What's the deal? What's up? Talk to me. What's your name? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm Mahar. Right? God, so we out here talking about the Bible. You got any questions? You straight? You rocking? Hey, I don't know about that. Hey, well, Shalom. Nice to meet you, Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. Hey, hold on. Before we get that, hey, get the account where it tell you he got turned into yeah. He got turned into a beast. Hey, and I was looking for you, but you over there. Never mind. I'll wait. You got something?
You want the basement, right?
Yeah, he got it. He got it. Get Psalms 49 and 20. Hey, you found it? Con.
This is Daniel chapter 4 and verse 33.
Come on.
The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from man, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers.
Salak. So you had Nebuchadnezzar having a dream, and he couldn't even break. He didn't know what the dream meant. So here come Daniel. You know, he came through with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? He always knew what the hell was going on when it came to visions and revelations and getting an understanding of what was written and shit. So he called Daniel. Daniel, you know, he back on his shit, and he tell him like, "Look, bro, this is what that mean. This is what's gonna happen." And then you got Nebuchadnezzar. He walked into the temple and he like, "Nigga, you know, I built this shit. I did all of this shit." Salak, man. Salak. So here you got Nebuchadnezzar raising himself up again, and he said, you know, as you speaking, is that right above it? I want that, because that hit. Where you at? Where was you just reading? Salak. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's not just the house. Con, read that and go down, bro. 30. Con.
This is Daniel chapter 4 and verse 30.
God.
The king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by my might of my power and for the honor of my majesty?
Con. So he was boasting himself. It's not what I built. Didn't I build this? Didn't I bring this kingdom up? This is everything that I did. You know? Go ahead.
While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying.
Hey, he said, while the word was in the king's mouth, a word from heaven came what?
Came saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee.
He said, look, nigga, as you have spoken it, it's departed from you, bro. Because I just showed you that I'm the Most High. I'm the one who did all this shit for you. I'm the one who set you up, not you. You ain't do shit.
Go ahead. And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field.
He's saying they're going to drive you from dwelling with men. You're going to be like a beast in the field. Go ahead.
They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth to whomsoever he will.
So it's not of men. It's of what the Most High want to do, right? It ain't nothing you did special. This is his story. This is his book. This is movie. Ain't nothing you did.
The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen.
Hey, and it said in the same hour it was fulfilled. Go ahead.
And his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird claws. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and my understanding returned unto me.
Hey, so the Most High took his understanding away from that man. He was out there living like a beast.
And I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation.
So Nebuchadnezzar was bugged out, but he had to show Nebuchadnezzar like, bro, this is all my plan. This ain't nothing you did, you know, this ain't nothing special. You ain't shit, to be honest. He brought him to a lower state to show him what's up.
Right.
Hey, the Most High built up a kingdom just to destroy, just to show his power. Right. So he'll build up a man to show his power and destroy you, just for his sake, you know, just to get his glory. So give me that in Job.
This is the book of Job, chapter 30 and verse 8. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men.
And that man, Nebuchadnezzar, was a fool for lifting himself back up when the Lord had manifested himself to him down there. Like, look, bro, you know, I'm the God of Israel, but I delivered him into your hand. You shouldn't have boasted like, nigga, didn't I do all of this? Didn't I raise up this kingdom? So the Most High did those things to him. Go ahead.
So, Job chapter 30 and verse 8. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were valid than the earth.
Alright, you got that precept?
The book of Psalms 49 verse 20. Start at verse 19. He shall go to the generation of his fathers. They shall never see light. Verse 20. Men that is in honor.
Hey, Nebuchadnezzar was in honor. He was in a higher state. Go ahead.
Men that is in honor and understand not is like a beast that perish.
Kind. Hey, because he didn't understand that everything that happened to him was of the Most High. It was all for Israel's sake at the end of the day. That was just our chastening, and he used Nebuchadnezzar as that rod. Hey, go to his son, Belshazzar. Because after Nebuchadnezzar, you got his son who rose up in his stead, Belshazzar. Con, go ahead.
This is Daniel chapter 5 and verse 1. Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to thousands of his lords, and drank wine before the thousands. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem.
So here you have it. If you go back to 2 Kings, the 24th chapter, I believe, you got Jehoiakim, who was ruling over Israel. Then you got his son who rose up in his stead, was Jehoiachim. Jehoiachim and Jehoiakim was wicked as hell. But that's when the Most High delivered into Nebuchadnezzar's hand the children of Israel. So you have that where it happened. Hey, in the temple that Solomon built up, where he plated everything in gold, they took all of that, all of the spoils of war that David took and dedicated it to the Most High. You got the Babylonians, you got Nebuchadnezzar, you got these men who took them things. So when Belshazzar came to rulership when his father passed, you had him having those possessions, and he started making feasts with his wives, with his men, you know what I'm saying, with his children, and using them victuals, right? Using all of that shit that was in our temple. Go ahead.
That the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. I'm gonna jump down to verse 4.
Go ahead.
They drank wine and praised the gods of gold.
They drank wine and praised the gods of gold. What else?
And of silver.
And who?
And of silver.
Come on.
Of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
Hey, so how Belshazzar start praising all of these different gods that nobody know about, but he just seen everything that happened to his father. He's seen everything that happened with Daniel. You know, he should have known that it was the Most High. It was the God of Israel only, and that's the only God. But he still wanted to go off. So go ahead.
In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand.
Hold on now. This is where it get weird. He doing all of this, and it's saying the same hour. What?
In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand.
Hey, say you making mirth. We all chilling on the Sabbath, and you see just a hand, not a man, just a hand, writing these words on the wall, just a hand. He got a pen in his hand. You just see words pop up on the wall. What Belshazzar start doing?
Then the king's countenance was changed.
Hey, the king's countenance was changed. He was just making mirth. He was all happy with his family, drinking wine, the best wine. You know, he on top of the world. He king. You know, he got all the spoil of war from Jerusalem, everything that was dedicated by David in the temple. You got all of these things, and he drinking out of them and eating off of them. You know, look, we the shit. I mean, we overthrew the God of Israel. We overthrew these niggas. We the shit. So he making mirth.
And his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loose, and his knees smote one against another.
Hey, once he seen that hand writing these words, he folded up. Hey, but you know why that shit happened is because he was doing all that shit with the Most High's thing. All of that stuff that he was eating off of and drinking out of, that was what was dedicated from by David and Solomon in the temple of the Most High.
Then the king cried aloud to bring the astrologers, the Chaldees, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom.
So he called everybody. Whoever can break down what's written on this wall, you know, you scared. You don't know what it say. He called everybody. The astrologers, he called in the whole nine. And you know, David was a part of that. It's like Daniel was a part of that. Daniel went hard. You gonna go to, where you at? All right, go ahead.
This is verse 17. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another.
Yeah, bro.
Yet I will read the writing unto the king to make it known to him the interpretation.
We're gonna jump to, where you going? All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Verse 22. And thou his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though he knewest all this, but hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven.
Hold on. It said that Belshazzar, the son of Nebuchadnezzar, he knew what was going on though. I mean, as a son, you see your father going through stuff. You kind of know. You might not know, but you know. You know that some shit happened. He was probably doing something he wasn't supposed to do, or whatever the case may be. What's going on, Huck? What's up, bro? You know about us? You do? All praises, all praises. Get this man a hand, man. All praises. The word going out. What's up, though? You got any questions? Con. So what we talking about is basically the Babylonian captivity, where you have King Nebuchadnezzar, and then you have his son Belshazzar rising up in his stead. And basically, what happened was the Most High delivered us into the hands of the enemies, and they was ruling over us with a rod of iron. But he chose certain men in that time to deal with, like Daniel the prophet. Hey, but you have Belshazzar who was doing too much. He started eating of the victuals of the things that was dedicated to the temple of the Most High. So he had to send prophecies and make shit happen. What's up?
I got a precept.
Yeah, that's 2 Kings. Yeah, that's the account.
So this is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 24, verse. I'm gonna start at verse 10. It says at that time the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the kings of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his princes, and his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. Verse 13. And he carried out thence all treasures of the house of the Lord Yahweh, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord Yahweh.
And just to touch on that, you might not know, Solomon built that whole house that was dedicated to the Most High and plated it with gold. Everything in the house was plated with gold.
As the Lord has said. And he carried away all Jerusalem and the princes and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land.
Hey, thank you for that precept, just giving us a little background on what was happening. So that's the account in 2 Kings. And now we actually reading about what Daniel was doing in them times.
I'm gonna start at 22 again. And thou his son Belshazzar hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knewest all this.
Hey, so Nebuchadnezzar, he was going through it. But you raising up your son seen all of that stuff that the Most High poured upon Nebuchadnezzar. Hey, Nebuchadnezzar, he said 7 times rain passed over him. He got turned into a beast. You don't think his son, like, damn, where my dad at, Go ahead.
But hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives and thy concubines have drunk wine in them, and thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, in whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, tekel, parsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it.
Hey, so it was already determined that your kingdom was going to get taken from you. You was going to die.
Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain.
Hey, he said in that night, that nigga was gone. He got slayed that night. Hey, the Most High was making shit come to pass quick. Hey, give me that Habakkuk 2 and 3.
That's crazy.
He was making stuff pop off quick.
Yeah.
He'd give him the prophecy or the warning, and then that night, in that hour, that nigga was dead. Go ahead. 2 and 3.
This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie.
Hey, and not lie. Go ahead.
Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry.
It will not tarry. So whatever the Most High say, it gonna go. It's gonna happen. He said, hey, it might tarry, it might not, but it's gonna surely come. Hey, he tell you in 2 Peter, I believe. Go to 2 Peter for me real quick. It's a lot. 2 Peter, I want to say it's like 10. It's a lot.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah.
This is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise.
Read that again.
The Lord is not slack concerning his promise.
Hey, so you got a lot of brothers who getting tired of this truth, who falling out. Hey, but he told you in Habakkuk 2 and 3, hey, you know these things gonna come to pass. Hey, though it tarry, it's gonna surely happen. Go ahead.
The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance.
Keep going.
Verse 10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night.
Hey, everybody know this, but hey, some people just don't keep that in their head. Some people not scared of that. Some people don't really fear that.
In which the heavens shall pass away with great noise. With great noise.
And what?
And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works there that are therein shall be burnt up.
Come on.
Verse 11. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons are ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness?
Hey, so these things gonna get melted away. He told you all of the promises that he made, they surely gonna come to pass. That's why I went to Habakkuk, and that's why I went to that precept to show you that, hey, when the Most High said something was gonna happen, it happened. Hey, sometimes it'll tarry a little bit, but it's definitely gonna happen. And in these cases, he said niggas was gonna die, and it happened that hour. It happened that same day. That's scary. The Most High was dealing with David. I mean, I keep calling Daniel David. It's a lot, but the Most High was dealing with Daniel. Hey, go back to Maccabees. First Maccabees 2, and they'll tell you Daniel right there.
This is First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 60. Daniel for his innocency.
Daniel for his what?
For his innocency was delivered from the mouth of lions.
Hey, so you had Daniel get put in the lion's den unrighteously. He ain't even do nothing. They tell you he literally ain't do nothing. You gonna go to it? I mean, we dealing. We can take our time. Daniel went hard.
The king at that time, like, he took favor into Daniel more than his other officers, man.
Right.
And he didn't even want to do it, but the officers was like, yeah, do it anyway.
Yeah.
And what happened was that Daniel was thrown in the lion's den, and the king woke up early that morning to go see if Daniel was still up in there. He was still up in there. And he caused the officers, the ones that did it, he caused all them to die. I think it was them and their family, man. They all the ones got killed by the lions.
Oh, my bad. The whole story. We finna get that count, man. You got it?
Somebody said, pump your brakes, man. Pump your brakes.
I'm gonna start with 7 minutes.
Go ahead.
This is Daniel chapter 6 and verse 7. All the presidents of the kingdom and governors and princes and counselors and captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed, according to the law of the Medes, Persians, which altereth not. Verse 9, wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day, and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime.
Come on. You gonna jump up or you gonna keep going?
This is verse 13. Then answered they and said before the king that Daniel, which is the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day.
Hey, now you he dealing with Daniel. You know, they didn't like him dealing with Daniel. He told you he was of the captivity of Judah. They didn't really like him dealing with him. Go ahead. Then the king, because the king was dealing with Daniel, like you said, more than this other men.
Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself.
Because he didn't want to kill Daniel. He loved Daniel.
And he set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is, that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. I'm going to jump to 18. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments.
So he fasted for Daniel. I didn't know that. He fasted for Daniel that he didn't duck. Come on.
Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the den of lions.
And so I envisioned it. He woke up, jumped out of bed, and ran down there.
And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me, for as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt.
Hey, he said an angel came and kept the mouth of that lion closed. Yeah, go back to that, man. This scripture hit, man.
This is the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms, chapter 34 and verse 7. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him and delivereth them.
Hey, and there you have it in the lion's den. You got, it's a lot.
This is Daniel chapter 6 and verse 24. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den.
Hey, stuff like that get me hype when I read it. That put me in the spirit. I'm like, dang.
Let's talk about how Daniel was praying, even though they had put out a decree for them not to be worshiping the Most High or doing anything of the Most High, right? So, but Daniel did though. And I don't know if you read the part when it said that he was praying towards the east through the window or not.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8 and verse 5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing. And a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment.
All right, so Daniel, he was still, even though the king said that they would be persecuted for it, Daniel was still doing it, right? So he didn't feel no evil thing, and he says a wise man's heart discerneth time and judgment. So he was like, I'm gonna still keep these laws, and guess what happened? Hey man, he didn't feel no evil thing when it came to the lions.
I will come. Grab this to Sirach.
This is Sirach chapter 2 and verse 10. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was not confounded? And was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in the time of affliction.
That's bust. Hey, did anybody ever put their trust in God, and actually we got the accounts of it, and they get confounded? No, everybody that put their trust in the Most High, you got no